Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Football Fignuts podcast. This is episode number 140 overall, season 3, episode 40. My name is Britt.
I'm Craig.
And if you are watching this live on Facebook Live,
Do it live.
welcome. We are doing it live, which Craig said 3 seconds before we went on air. It's an old joke that he loves to pull. And he said, I'm like, don't make me laugh as I'm getting ready to do the damn intro. Just don't. We're trying something new. We don't know how often we'll be able to do this. If it's popular, probably when we get closer to like draft season, it might be a little bit more popular. People,
whatever that is.
So I do have a chat window open on my screen. So if you have questions or you would like to make a comment, please feel free to do so. But first, we may be on multiple mediums, but we're still starting where we always start. Craig, what are you drinking tonight?
The first beer I have is Forest City Lager. Oop, there's a camera.
Where is that from?
Foundation Brewing Company.
Where are they? That sounds
familiar. They are in Portland, Maine.
I think I drove by them on my way to that. I did. Oh my God! I think I did. I think that was one of the. I think that's one of the beers, the places near Allagash. I could be wrong.
It could be. I don't know where anything is in Maine.
Maybe that's why I know it, because we did so much research on the different things in Maine that I just don't know. Oh, look at him! He's even using the glass. Look at this fanciness.
Wow, this is really light.
Is it?
Be a bad thing. Oh yeah, I can see right through it.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, let's give it a try. Let's see how it goes.
All right.
This is different. We're actually going to be able to see us try these things live, which is kind of weird.
It's ultra light. This is definitely a summer drinking beer. Deb would like this beer.
Really?
Deb. Yes.
It's a lager, which, by the way, hi, Deb. Let's get that out of the way right now. For those of you who are watching us on the live stream, I'm going to shrink Craig for a minute just so you can see over my shoulder. I made a little sign today that says, hi, Deb, which I only had a few minutes to make, so it's very poorly done. And Christy's just checked in. Hi, Christy.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, so I am also drinking tonight, and I have a special treat in my magic bag over here, which I'm going to zip up because it's that cooler bag that I love to keep beers nice and cold.
That is a good bag.
It is a fantastic bag, but it doesn't make a whole lot of difference if you leave it open.
No.
So I have, let's see if I can get this on camera. I have, everything's reversed. So I'm like, this is my right hand. No, it's not. It's my left hand, and I'm moving it the wrong way. Oh, never mind. This is Henry's Farm barrel-aged Doppelbock Lager. It's aged in rye whiskey barrels. This is a rare release that Two Roads does not every year, but most years. Hey, there's Deb. Deb is on there. Hi, Deb. And I've not had one yet this year. I did some curbside pickup with Two Roads about 2 weeks ago, and frankly, I've been saving this guy for a special occasion. Well, our first Facebook Live is as special occasion as it gets. Hope the mic picked that up.
Push.
There it is. So I haven't had one of these yet this year. I've had it in the past, so bear with me. Now, those of you who are joining us on the live feed, I kind of have a tendency to make faces when I try a new beer.
Everyone misses the enjoyment I get out of him trying beers in person.
Particularly if you give me a sour. From what I understand, the reaction is kind of epic. So bear with me while I try this. Here we go.
All right, there he goes. He's sipping the can.
I almost drooled.
And he's thinking. He's really thinking.
Whoa.
Oh, there it is.
Wow, the rye barrel, is it rye whiskey barrels? Rye whiskey barrels kicks in way at the end. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, I can taste straight whiskey now.
Nice.
I'm getting that aftertaste like I just did a shot of whiskey. Wow.
So now you're going to drink like 4 of them.
I've only got 4 of them.
And
my wife is monitoring the stream, and she just put in there, I love Henry's Farm. That is her way of saying that she expects cans to be in there. And yes, Deb, I do make really good yuck faces.
Which I get to see every week when he's here.
Every week, unless I'm coming to you live from the Frank Gore Memorial Studio, and Craig is over in the Blake Bortles Memorial Studio. So yeah, when I'm over in the Blake Bortles Studio, Craig gets to see this live. So, all right, let's do some burning hot takes. Would you like to give or receive this week?
Receive.
Okay. So, all right, let's see. Let's start with the Monday mock draft that CBS likes to do. I've got it up on my screen. Yeah, but it says Monday Draft Monday 4.0. So everybody puts out mock drafts like crazy this time of year. Here's my question for you. This edition of the mock
Okay,
draft, and I didn't tell Craig about this, but I did tease him that he was going to be upset.
you
So I'm
didn't.
bracing him for this. In this version of the mock draft,
Okay,
CBS anticipates that the Bengals will trade down
okay.
with the Miami Dolphins to allow the Dolphins to take Joe Burrow at 1. If they trade down, they would pick 5th, and their anticipated pick would be an offensive tackle from Alabama, Jedrick Wills Jr. My question for you is, are you going to punch a wall if they don't take Joe Burrow at 1?
Okay, with that deal, no, because they would be getting like 5 draft picks. Here's my 5. But they still need to take a quarterback. I can't see them taking offensive lineman with their first pick this year because offensive line has so much depth coming out of college this year. They definitely need a quarterback. I would just assume they would take Herbert and
I'm
maybe
super
Tua,
big
but
on him,
Tua has a big question marks now that he's injured.
which I think was the Dolphins' plan, honestly. They were going to take Tua. But Cinch has just logged in, so hi,
Oh,
Cinch.
Cinch has breaking news for us.
My chat has frozen.
Would you like me to read it, or do you see it?
No, I don't. It says new messages below, but then I try to scroll down.
Oh,
It's telling me to go to hell.
Cinch has informed us no football events in LA, New York, or New Orleans, and any other major cities until 2021.
Wow, that's not exactly shocking. Um, they're
So
talking about
do they all like play in Miami and Arizona, like throughout the
possibly
week?
either that or they shorten the season. I don't know. I don't know. That's gonna be a
How
wait and
short can
see.
they go though?
That's a good question. Well, the problem is moving the Super Bowl is not an easy thing because so much goes into building it up and the host city.
Right.
You could shorten the playoffs to 2 weeks and
I
then
mean, do you
just do.
shorten the season? Do you shorten the season to 10 games?
I think you could go as low as 10. I wouldn't go lower than 10. I don't think you can go lower than 10. So, all right. No sporting events. So, okay. So, Singe just clarified. Thank you, Singe. All right. So, yeah, I agree. They have to draft a quarterback somewhere in this draft. They have to.
Right.
If they're trading down, then there's got to be somebody else in that first round that they want that they think they're going to be able to get.
Because I
I'm
know they were
looking
talking to Herbert a lot, Hubert.
right.
So if they do that and they do smart things with their other picks, I won't be totally upset.
So in this mock draft, they have Cincinnati also getting the 18th pick from the Dolphins as part of the deal, and there they take Jordan Love. So if they got Jordan Love and an offensive tackle out of it, you'd be okay with them trading down.
I would be okay with it. It's really because of the amount of picks they would get for the first pick.
Right. You'd have to see the deal.
Because the Dolphins allegedly the Dolphins would give up their first 4 picks and like a pick next year. So
I
that's
gotta
hard
tell
to
you,
say. That's hard to say no to.
I gotta tell you before we move on to your question, I feel like in this whole little box thing on a video, I feel like one of the characters if you're playing StarCraft. Like when you're playing StarCraft and you're like,
Up in the
ready and
corner.
loaded, and then if you don't do anything with them, they start looking around.
Yes. Actually, you're exactly right.
All right, let's move it. And if
Since
you've never
since
played
it's
StarCraft, you have no idea.
hey beer
Hey
is the
Bear,
correct pronunciation.
like Bobby A Bear. Okay,
Yes.
that's good info. Give me a question. Give me something while I'm sipping my beer. Jeez, I'm
So
glad I only brought one of these.
another rumor about trading picks.
8%. Oh, go on.
Allegedly, the Browns are thinking about trading Odell Beckham Jr. to the Vikings for a second and fifth round pick.
Hmm.
Does this confirm what mostly I said last year that the Browns were just a mess and with the people on their team, they just could not exist as a team? Like, do you think the Browns are just done with everything and rebooting again for like the 5th time in 2 years?
All I heard was the Browns are done with everything, and I'm like, yeah, they kind of are. I mean, you'd have to think. I mean, the most breaking news we've had out of Cleveland really in this offseason is that they redid their uniforms, which everybody else has done anyway. So, yeah, I honestly nothing the Browns do moves the meter for me anymore. just because it has been so lackluster and just not
So
notable.
that would
And
mean Jarvis Landry is their number one receiver again.
but you know what? In a very real way, isn't he? Because um, Odell stunk. I'm just saying. I
True,
mean,
true.
got to keep these things in perspective. So yeah, I'm not. I'll pay attention to the Browns when they can win 8 games in the season. They win more than eight
That's
games,
fair.
I'll start paying attention. They literally played in a division that was begging to be won last year,
They
and
were.
the only team that stood up and said hold my beer were the Ravens. And let's be honest here, the Ravens, as good as they were and as up and coming as they were, benefit from the fact that everyone else in their division was abysmal. That was a
Yes,
huge reason
that
why
did
they
help.
won so many games. So, the future is bright, I think, for the Baltimore Ravens, but I think you play in a bad division, you can be an average team. If you're in the NFC East, you can be a below average team like Philadelphia, because of injuries and whatnot, and still get there. So,
Yep.
all right, question for you.
Okay.
So the Patriots have and I'm saying this while Cinch is on. Um, the Patriots have an issue in that they have cut ties with Gostkowski. They are, for the first time since they drafted Stephen Gostkowski in 2006, so for the first time in 14
Wow.
years, they have an issue at kicker. Don't forget, they drafted Gostkowski when Vinatieri left. So it's not like they have been struggling here for a
Right.
long time. A name has emerged in this year's draft. He's like the 10th best kicker on the board, but his name is automatically causing folks to link him to the Patriots.
Okay.
His name is Chase Vinatieri, and he is the
Really?
nephew of the best smelling man in football, Adam Vinatieri.
All right, then they have to draft him.
Do, do,
But you're gonna have to explain to people that why you called him the best smelling man.
again? I've told this story like 100 times. Seriously, I've told this story 100 times. I walked by Adam Vinatieri at a signing. I think it was probably right after they won the Super Bowl with him. It might have been their second Super Bowl. Cinch is saying he'll take him. He'll take a guy named Chase Vinatieri. All right, great. That works for Cinch. I just happened to be standing in the way. My brother was there for a signing, and my brother got ticket like number 3, and they organized you by ticket number. So he's standing there. He hands me a camera, and he goes, "I want you to take a picture of me while he's signing my stuff. Get him in the photo." Okay. So I stood off to the side of the room with the camera ready, and I wasn't paying attention. All of a sudden, feel a hand on my shoulder, and a voice go, "Pardon me, Hoss." And so I step back and go, "Oh, excuse me." And it's Adam Vinatieri. And he walks right by me, smiles. He's like a foot away from me, and all I could catch was the smell of cologne. I don't know what he was wearing, but he was wearing a fair amount of it, and he smelled very nice. So that's why, and that happens to me a lot. I'll tell you right now. That's how I met Dwight Gooden for the first time. Was at
Smelling his
the
cologne?
No, but I was
Oh.
standing in his way. I'm a big dude. I get in people's way easily, apparently, because I was standing there, and I was at the National for that one. I was at the National Sports Collectors Convention. I was standing by the back of a booth. I'm like, there's nobody here. It's a great place for me to go into my bag and get some stuff that I need, blah, blah, blah. I just had a regular carry bag. And I was bent over and I was in there. And all of a sudden I felt, again, a hand on the small of my back. I'm like, who the hell is touching me? And excuse me. And I said, oh, I'm very sorry. And I stepped out of the way and I looked up and it was Dwight Gooden. He was
Oh.
coming out the back of the curtain because he had just finished signing for Steiner Sports and just wanted to make a quick getaway. And he smiled and said, "That's all right." And the funniest part is he claimed I met him and worked with him at a sporting event about 2 years later. And he said, "Pleased to meet you," when he met me. And I said, "Actually, we've met before at the National." And he was like, "I remember you from the National. You didn't come get anything signed." I'm like, no, I was standing in your way. He goes, "I remember you. I had asked you to move." And I'm like, okay, 90% of it's made up. I'm pretty sure he does not remember anything about that. But Cinch says I should stop smelling wheat men. It's just weird. You're not wrong. It was not an intentional act on my part. So, you know what? Kickers are a crapshoot. There's
They
been
are.
the only kicker I've ever known to come out of college who was a real prospect, who became a real player, was Sebastian Janikowski. That's it. And that was 20 years ago. So kickers, you do what you got to do. it's a lot easier to get a kicker to come in and try out for you than to worry about them in a draft. So if the Patriots want to use their last pick on him, or they want to see about bringing him in for a workout, I'm fine with it. So, all right, on to other news and notes, because I got a
Okay.
page here. I keep looking down. It's because I have a
Rick has a
page full of
page of
notes.
notes that I have not seen,
I have a page full of notes. Craig has
and they're
not seen any of
typed.
them. And well, because I was listening to Sirius XM, I was listening to the Fantasy Sports Channel, and John Hansen, the guru, was covering a lot of these. And by the way, I'm in a very uncomfortable chair, so if I shift a lot, I apologize. Um, he was covering a lot of these things, so I kind of just like, ooh, that's another good topic. The biggest news that's broken so far this week is that Christian McCaffrey signed an extension. 4 years, $64 million, which makes him the highest paid running back ever. It beats the deal that Zeke fought and clawed for last year and sat out for. There's a lot of little nuances to this story. So first off was the whole thing that Zeke held out. And Zeke held out and he got his deal, but here's a guy who didn't hold out, went out there and did his best and got the deal anyway. So that raises the question, does sitting out even work anymore? Number two, interesting stats that the guru tossed out this morning. Christian McCaffrey has more receiving yards in his first 3 years than Marvin Harrison, the Hall of Famer who played with, who's that guy? God
Peyton
damn it.
Manning.
Thank you. Always hits me. But I think Manning came in his third year. So, I mean, to be fair, it wasn't like, primetime Manning. He had more receiving yards than Marvin Harrison did. He has more receptions in his first 3 years than DeAndre Hopkins had. That's shocking. Yeah, see that.
Wow,
That's
that's crazy.
You know, that's
Though you realize though, this is gonna let us snowball into other running backs holding out.
Is it? Well, so there's the point number one. Is it going to lead to more holdouts? You know who the next big name on the list that's coming off a rookie deal is, because McCaffrey had one more year, I think, on his rookie deal, maybe two. They did this extension. What the hell was that? That Mike did just pick that up.
Oh, that was Fiona.
The cat?
Yeah, she went through a door. She opened it.
It sounded like somebody blew a raspberry at you. So I was like, what the
No,
hell?
no. It was the cat moving the door.
You're teaching a cat how to make raspberries? Okay. The next big name that's going to be due in the running back ranks is Alvin Kamara.
Yes.
And that's your buddy. So
and Joe Mixon might hold out too now.
Well, Joe Mixon has nothing to hold out for. What? He's going to hold out and not get injured?
He's going to hold out because he knows he's the only running back they have.
For a team that's notoriously cheap? For the team, the ownership that put Achilles Smith on a charter flight to come out.
Yeah, well, apparently the more I'm reading since Taylor has been there,
makes me gonna drink.
There you go. It seems like they're letting him do more, and Mike Brown is doing what everyone wanted him to do for the last 20 years and not interfere as much.
They want him to go away.
So, yes.
I can't see Joe Mixon having a successful holdout. My question
I
with
didn't say it's going to work, but
well, does Alvin Kamara now hold out? Does he think about it next year? We're sitting.
I think he thinks about it, but the thing is, like, since Ingram left, like, he didn't have the same kind of year.
Right.
So it's hard to tell.
The next part of this story is that Alvin Kamara has already reacted to this news. When the news broke, he was playing Call of Duty on a streaming platform. I'm going to assume it was Twitch.
Yes.
And his quote was, wait, pause it. I got to read this. End quote. And then said that he doesn't worry about contracts, but he's extremely happy he just plays football and he's happy for McCaffrey because he works hard. The other person we got to talk about with regards to this contract business is Derrick Henry. They just franchise tagged him. Mixon, Cinch, not Nixon. Nixon's dead. As a classic word aside, by the way, before we came into broadcast, my wife was watching the news, and they're teasing an interview with Siegfried and Roy.
Right.
I thought Roy was dead.
Oh no! Tiger didn't kill him. Maimed him. Didn't kill him.
So they're talking. So they show them talking to Siegfried, and he's talking about the attack, and the reporters, looking really faint interest. And then they cut to Roy, who is, obviously he's wearing sunglasses. I'm presuming his eyesight is either damaged or it's just more comfortable to him. Maybe he's light sensitive, something like that. He's sitting there, and I went, "Holy crap! I thought he was dead." And my wife goes, "Well, if he's dead, he looks pretty good for a dead guy." I'm like, "They dug up Roy to hold an interview?" I was in shock. I was like, "Oh my god!" Honestly, did not know.
No, no, he's still alive.
I thought he had perished in the tiger attack.
Nope, no.
So,
Tiger just moved him off stage.
so we don't think Kamara will hold out, but I also don't think New Orleans is going to play hardball with him. New Orleans is going to have to do some creative bookkeeping because they're going to have Michael Thomas. Although if Drew Brees retires, that will open things up, and supposedly they think Drew Brees is going to play one more year. But Derrick Henry, you got to figure something out during this year, right? You can't let him go into free agency next year. You can't.
Not if the Titans want to continue being the team they had last year. No.
So
Like,
here's
he was
the question.
a key part of that game, that team.
Here's my question. Does it matter what the Titans do this year? Let's assume a 16-game schedule. Is a negotiation different if they win 6 or 12? If they win 6 games this year, if they go 6-10, are they itching to keep Derrick Henry? And vice versa, if they go.
That depends on Derrick Henry's stats at the end of the year. Like if he rushes,
if you don't win though.
Yeah, but if he rushes for 800 yards and 2 touchdowns compared to 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns,
yeah,
I think it's going to make a difference.
I agree. I have to agree. I think that I think Derrick Henry has the potential to sit out next year. I don't think Kamara sits out next year. And then, of course, the final question when it comes to Christian McCaffrey is the fantasy question. Is this going to hurt his fantasy value? There is a widespread, and I apologize, I know I'm touching my face and I shouldn't be. This is the stuff I normally get away with on the podcast. I can scratch my nose, I can move my hair out of the way, which is way too long, by the way. I've got to get a haircut. For the love of God, COVID-19, go away just so I can get a haircut.
Just shave your head.
No.
Just shave it.
Why?
I don't know. Well, it's easier. Your hair will be cut shorter.
I don't want any part of that. I don't want any part of that. I just lost my train of thought. Where were we? Christian McCaffrey. Oh, fantasy value.
Yeah, fantasy.
So there's a wide-held belief that guys on big contracts tend to take it a little bit easier. They don't perform as well after they sign the big contract. Zeke definitely didn't have the year we thought he would have last year. He wasn't bad, but he definitely didn't have the year we expected, you and I in particular. And it's funny because, again, I was listening to The Guru this morning. Joe Dolan, who works for The Guru, and I think for ESPN, was saying he doesn't want to hear it. Every time somebody signs a big deal on Twitter blows up, oh, you got to downgrade Zeke Elliott now because he signed a big deal. He doesn't want to hear it. Do we downgrade Christian McCaffrey? Is he not the number one running back off the board right now? I still think he is.
It depends who his quarterback is. Who his starting quarterback is.
I don't think it does.
I think it would, especially with his receiving yards.
But any guy they're going to draft or pick up, or a guy they already have, I mean, it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater. And Teddy Bridgewater can dump off passes like crazy. I don't think his production is in jeopardy at all. I don't see McCaffrey's production. Now they are saying they want to cut down his amount of snaps. He played, are you ready for this? I wrote this down. 91% of the snaps last year.
Yeah, that's a lot for running back.
They're talking about
he values his longevity in the NFL. He needs to shorten that.
And that's not touches, but still, that's wear and tear. That's the time you're out there.
It's still 91% of the time of you getting hit,
right?
Whether you have the ball or not.
So I'm going to guess they're going to cut his time to about 70%, which is what the coach has been saying. But I still think he's probably the number one running back off the board. All right, I'll play devil's advocate for you, though.
All right.
They draft me to be his quarterback. How far does he drop?
Maybe, not far. Like maybe one spot.
Right.
I mean, at the most.
So who's the number one if it's not him? If tomorrow he decides to retire, which obviously isn't going to happen, and I can't straighten my shirt because everything's backwards. If he decides to retire tomorrow, who's number one? Do you put Derrick Henry at one? I'd like to see more than 1 year out of Derrick Henry.
Me too. And then Zeke has his new contract, but he wasn't that great last year.
And that's another thing. We got to talk about the Prescott and Zeke affair.
If you're in a league that's PPR, then he's still the number one running back.
regardless.
regardless. If you're not in a PPR league,
It's
then
different.
there's debate. Right.
Agreed. So let's talk about Dak and Zeke.
Oh dear.
Oh, they got chided because Dak had a birthday party, which he's now
Yeah.
claiming was not a birthday party but a dinner party, and
Either way,
had 10 or fewer guests in
I thought it
attendance.
was 30. Wasn't 30?
30 was what was reported, and Dak has said that would be fake news. I don't believe that, but the vice president of stuff at the Cowboys, who just happens to be Jerry Jones' son, gave them a good talking to, and now all of a sudden, Dak has decided he's not going to take part in the virtual OTAs.
Yeah. Dak, I don't.
Thoughts?
So if you read what Jerry Jones said to the players of Jerry Jones's Cowboys that were at this party,
Mm-hmm.
that was, I guarantee you, I'll put money on the fact that that interview he gave and said what he told them was the G version of what he said to them over the phone.
Oh, no question. No
That
question.
was
I
a
wouldn't be surprised.
profanity-laced conversation on the phone.
I'm not going to go. I won't go so far as to say he used inexcusable language, but I wouldn't
No,
be
but
surprised.
he used adult language.
He used adult language. That's the term I'm looking for. There you go.
Because if Jerry Jones is paying you to be on Jerry Jones's Cowboys, and you do that, you're putting Jerry Jones's Cowboys at risk of winning and their health.
And that's all that matters. So I agree. I agree. This is as much about the fact that he was chided for actually living his life as it is for his contract situation. I the guru said this morning that he's a guy who can win you a Super Bowl, but he's a guy with a lot of blemishes, and I agree. I agree. He's a guy who could win you a Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer's a guy who won you a Super Bowl, so that's not saying a whole ton. But yeah, am I getting this?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting it right! Yay!
There you go.
You know what it is? Every time I bring this arm up and bring it back down, my
It's the other
collar
way.
shifts. Yeah,
Yes.
my collar shifts. Do it again. God damn it! This
Hey,
should not go.
Remember Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl.
Joe Flacco has a Super Bowl win, and no team right now. He's still
No.
sitting on our dynasty roster, by the way. I won't
We should
cut him.
we should take a look at that.
Both him and Blake Bortles are still on our dynasty rosters.
No,
'cause
we're
I
keeping
don't know
Blake
what to do with-
Bortles.
I don't know where he's going.
It doesn't matter.
He's not on the Rams anymore. He signed a 1-year deal, and the Rams, when he called the Rams, they just put him on hold for 6 hours.
Did you see, actually, speaking of the Cowboys and the Rams, did you see who's no longer a Ram?
Besides Todd Gurley?
Their kicker, Mr. Zerline.
Yes.
He's a Cowboy. 3-year contract.
Yeah. Greg the Leg is down in Dallas. Nice dome. Don't have to worry about the outside again. It'll suit him. It'll suit him well.
Oh, Ty Kathy.
This stuff is dangerous.
It is.
Dangerous.
I'm gonna open my other surprise beer, but this one I've actually had before.
Holy crap, that's my mother-in-law, Kathy. High Lie.
High Lie.
I've had that.
You know what? I still miss High Lie.
I do too.
That is all.
I do too. I'm a little intimidated right now because my mother-in-law is on the stream.
Oh no, no more adult language.
I don't know, man. I don't know. You're a half hour in. If you don't know by now, this is an unfiltered podcast. Then
This is rated explicit on iTunes.
yeah. So just so you know about the High Lie beer that you're pouring into that glass right now, which we can't see, gorgeous pour. Well, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Look at all that foam.
No, I
Jesus,
moved.
Craig.
I'm trying to not spill it.
You need to get a chair and set up an office studio. That's what I've done. This is the office studio. So Cigar City Brewing, which is where I was going with this,
Yes.
supposedly was way better before they started like producing enough to distribute to the northern states.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, my mother-in-law says go for it. She doesn't care what we say.
Were they?
You're great, Mom.
Oh,
They're in Florida, which is why there's a High Life beer, because High Life's
that
huge in
makes
Florida.
sense.
Yeah, I think
Still.
Miami is still I think Miami-Dade is the last one on the East Coast. I could be wrong about that.
That's so sad.
We used to
That
have
is so sad.
3. For those of you who are not in Connecticut, we had 3 High Life
3.
Fontans. Hartford was year-round.
Yep.
Bridgeport was half the year. I gotta do sideways.
There you
And Milford was half the year. And then Bridgeport closed and became a dog track, and Milford became year-round, and now all 3 of them are extinct.
Sad.
Yep. There's a Lowe's where the Milford one. Actually, that reminds me. I have to
Is
go to
that where
Lowe's.
it was?
Yes.
Huh.
Right off exit 40 of 95. It's where the Lowe's is now.
Wow.
My wife wants to know where the weekend beer run's going to be. I don't know. I'm
Call
doing
Turnpike and just tell them to give you 2 mystery beers.
Sweetie, I'm doing a podcast about football and beer. I don't know where we're going to pick up beer. You have Heffenweizen in the fridge. Go drink your Heffenweizen. Go. Go. And have a Henry's Farm if you want a beer, by all means, my dear. So we'll figure it out wherever you want to go. I'm gonna take the typical man answer. Wherever you want, sweetie. And for those of you who are listening to us on the podcast end, because Craig is recording this to put this up, we're responding a lot to the comments this week. So this might not be the best format to record and put up on the podcast, but we're going to do what we're going to do. All right, more news. Let's get back to business here. Let's talk about Jerry Jones. My wife says, but the beer selection is related to the podcast. That's a fair point. So the easy answer is I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to your question. Ask me something about the Cowboys. I can answer it, but I can't answer that. So Jerry Jones.
Yes.
Jerry Jones has been tagged to be on the President's Council regarding reopening of the country. My question to you is, Craig, and I wrote this one out in advance so I would not screw it up. So I'm looking down just because I'm reading.
Okay.
Can Jerry Jones put aside Jerry Jones's need to get Jerry Jones's Cowboy on the field owned by Jerry Jones in order to help regular Americans who Jerry Jones needs to fill Jerry Jones's stadium and watch Jerry Jones's Cowboys? Would you like to hear that without all the Jerry Jones references so you can actually answer it?
Yeah, you can shorten it a little bit.
Can he put aside his personal need to get the team on the field to make money in order to give the best recommendations for how to get our country back after this whole virus thing subsides?
I would think so, only because Jerry Jones needs fans in his stadium buying tickets and food to make money.
But they're going to come regardless. That's what I mean. I mean, he could sit there and do something terrible and the fans are still going to buy tickets because the Cowboys are America's team. I don't see that being a factor. I see what's going on in his head is what's the fastest way I can get everyone into the stadium? That's what's going to affect my bottom line. And that's what I worry about is he's going to sit there and go, we can open tomorrow. I can open tomorrow. Let's have a party at the stadium. I'll host. I'm only going to charge $1 million in rent, but we'll host at Jerry Jones Stadium. You know, that's my concern. Can he be impartial enough and think about the greater good and the larger picture long enough to sit there and say, I don't know if opening right away is a good idea?
I would hope so, because especially after the thing with Dak and Zeke, I would hope so too, that it really concerned about his players' health too.
He's clearly not.
So,
has Jerry Jones ever been concerned about his players' health? Let's be honest for a second.
If it means him winning, yes.
Yeah, it's all about the money.
If his offensive line all has COVID-19, he's not going to win anything.
So a quick 2-second aside too. I know we've had a lot of side on this one, but that's okay. It's the freaking off season, folks. My mother-in-law is on the broadcast stream, and she's promised me stuffed peppers for Friday, Craig. She makes fantastic stuffed peppers. I'm very excited. So just saying. Mom, thank you for that in advance. All right, let's more news.
Sure.
More news out of Houston. And the news is not good. The only good news that could come out of Houston is that Bill O'Brien has been shot into the sun. Not fired, not run out of town. He needs to be launched in a missile. And when I say launched in a missile, I mean 1950s launched into a missile. I want to see him tied with rope to the side of a projectile that goes into the sun to get Houston back on track. The latest is that Aaron Wilson from The Athletic says he's still not happy with the receiving corps. He wants to release Kiki Kuti, and he wants to trade Kenny Stills. Release Kiki Kuti? Really? Thoughts?
Bill O'Brien and the Texans are this year's Browns. They're a mess.
Yeah.
And no one knows what's going on.
Bill O'Brien thinks he does. He thinks he knows.
That's the problem. That trade, the trade he made, no one on earth, well, anyone on earth that follows football, I should say, thought that was a good trade. Anyone but him.
That whiskey's still burning me.
And just so you know, too, David Johnson today just officially passed his physical.
Yeah. So you brought up he who shall not be named. So
hey, we were right, man. Never gonna let anyone forget it.
I'm looking today. I see an article on CBS Sports, and it's entitled 7 studs who were great in the first half of last year that you've already forgotten you need to draft in 2020. And number
Okay.
3 on the list was David Johnson. And the argument was this.
Okay.
While not stellar, he did average 50 yards a game and have 2 touchdowns in the first 7 games. Really? 50 yards a game and 2 touchdowns in 7 games is a stud? If that's a stud, then slap a helmet on Craig. He's a fucking all-pro. I'm like, are you kidding me?
People get paid to write this, and we do this for free?
Do the math. He plays the entire season at that production level.
Okay, that's 16 games.
At 50 yards a game, that's 800 yards.
Yes.
And roughly like 6 touchdowns, and that's being generous. Probably like 5.5 technically. Would you describe any running back who plays a full season at 800 yards and 5 touchdowns as a stud?
Only if they were a fullback. Then maybe.
Yeah, as a fullback, yeah. Those are Peyton Hillis
fullback,
numbers.
That's amazing numbers.
Those are Peyton Hillis numbers. But no, I'm sitting there, I'm reading this article, and I'm like,
maybe they were drunk. I mean, they're working from home. There was that article in New York Post that 38% of the people who work from home are drinking, which is clearly a lie. Those other people lied and said they weren't when they were.
It's higher than that, yes.
It's much higher.
I'm not. I'll be honest. I don't drink until after I punch out. But if I did, who the hell would know?
No.
Who the hell would know? I don't want any of my employers, because some of my folks in my agency do subscribe to this stuff on Facebook. I don't want. Cinch just called us DJ haters.
We are not DJ haters.
No,
we are
I
DJ
will.
Truthers.
I will. You're truthers. I want to see his birth certificate. You know what? I will own being a DJ hater till the day I die, because you know what? Everything he's done has proved me right. And you know what a hater is when he's right? He's factual.
It's true.
Good for you. Did you point the other way first?
I did have it. But
just so you guys know, we do this kind of stuff in the studio all the time. Craig will sit there and go, while I'm talking about something, and most of the time I'm making some sort of signal that I need to go to the bathroom, which I'm trying desperately to avoid in this episode, because normally I just like, Craig, talk for 5 minutes. So Craig, what do you think about such and such? I flip up the mic, which puts it on mute. I run to the bathroom. Can't do that when I'm live on video. So no,
no. And we will never let that person on Twitter forget that they were wrong about DJ.
Oh, they've blocked us. They've blocked us.
I know, but it doesn't matter.
I'm fine with it. I don't think Kenny Stills has the trade value they hope he does, and I think Kiki Kuti, if you cut him, would end up on a practice squad with a shot at making a roster really quick. As hurt as he's been, as disappointing as he's been, you cannot release Kiki Kuti. We should have an ESPN First Take show. We don't argue enough to have an ESPN First Take show. Cinch just said that in the chat. Yet, you know what? That's funny. Let's go there for a second. So Cinch says you should have an ESPN First Take show. When we started this podcast, which is now coming up on its 3rd full year of completed, will be 3 full years at the end of June. Our buddy Keith, who has appeared once, I'd love to get him back. I'd love to get him back, particularly if we can do this
and
once
Sean,
in a while.
He doesn't exist. And you'll notice Sean is not on the chat list at all.
Yeah. Where's it going with this? My wife just texted me about going to Tribus, and I just got 3 years. One of the things that Keith said to me is, how long before you guys end up like Mike and the Mad Dog, where you can't even talk to each other and one of you just gets the hell out? And I went, we won't get to that point, because Craig and I agree on too much of what goes on in football.
We do. And then we argued too much in high school. So
God, yeah. Oh, we're much more mellow than we were in high school. Much more mellow. Which, to that point, enough with the asking for high school yearbook pictures on Facebook.
Oh yeah, what is that What is that all about?
People are feeling bad because there's a definite effect on everything that's going on the class of 2020. I had to remember what year we're in. I've only had the one beer, and I still have to remember what year we're in.
It's 8%.
It was 8%. My God, it tasted like 10. So we have to. So people are like, oh, in support of that, let me show you the pic, and I think that's fantastic. I'm not giving you. You want to know what my high school picture looked like? I'll show you. Just imagine darker hair. That's it. I I look exactly the
Yeah.
same, only fatter and older. That's it.
I pretty much do too, except I have more gray hair. I mean, I
How
had
is that
gray hair in
possible? You had gray
I
hair
had gray
from
hair
the
in
day I
high
met you.
school.
You were
I just have
14 and you
more.
had gray hair. That's not a lie,
I
folks.
did.
That's not an
No,
exaggeration. Craig has been gray since he was
that's when it
14.
started. It started in a patch right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. All right. What is this? All right. Cinch says he should get his old ESPN show and says we're
I mean,
old.
dude, hey, we can make a shin show,
You're
cinch
cut
show,
off.
cinch show.
A Cinch show. It's the Cinch show. The entirely Cinch production network can be what the new ESPN stands for. That's fine. All right, what else I got on my list? Oh, you know what? I want it because believe it or not, we're over 40 minutes into
Yeah,
this.
nice.
So, all right. So let me jump to the prop bets because I wanted to
Okay.
talk to you about this. William Hill, who is a British, I believe, casino, loves to take prop bets. They must make a ton of
Who
money off
doesn't?
of guys. Well, but I mean, guys must wander in and go, "Hey, mate, I'm drunk as fuck. I need to bet on something. Let me get that American football." They must because they put a lot of
Probably.
American football. I can't imagine, and that's a terrible. I apologize to the entire country of England for that bad impression. But they love to do the prop bets. So with the NFL draft on the prop bet, horizon, and Cinch, if you're still in the chat, feel free to toss in your calls here too. They put out a bunch of them. So I'm just gonna do. I picked 5 that I really find interesting. They're all over unders. The first one is Jordan Love, the quarterback from that place, Utah State. Sorry guys, I'm getting old. From Utah
There's a
State,
lot of college. There's a lot of college teams.
and I don't remember most of them.
I'm in a college fantasy league, and there's a lot of teams, so it's hard to keep track of.
So Jordan Love from Utah State, does he go before or after pick 16 and a half? Now, before you
Ooh.
answer, we just talked about at the beginning of the show, the Bengals, if they traded down, would get him, and that's pick 18. Jordan Love before or after pick 16 and a half while I open another beer. This is
After
the bag, by the way.
only that is a nice bag.
It's a great bag. Go on. 16 and a half.
I would say after because there's not a lot of teams that have a need at quarterback
Yeah.
because like Cam Newton doesn't have a job, so you know
Cinch says he goes before. You're saying after?
I'm saying after.
What did I say? I have it in my notes.
I'm saying like the Packers draft him.
I have him at after. I have him going at pick 19 to the Raiders, but I wrote that down before the rumors of this. Well, it works either way, but I have him as after. I think the Raiders are looking at a quarterback, and I think pick 19 works. My second beer tonight, by the way, will be Road to Ruin by Two Roads.
Good go to.
Yeah,
Good go to.
it's what's in the fridge. Honestly, because I need to make a beer run, and my wife is right. We should do someplace that's not Two Roads this time. Not because I don't love Two Roads, but just because I've been there twice in the last 2 weeks. All right, next one. C.J. Henderson, the cornerback from Florida. Before or after, pick 17.5. It's a cornerback heavy draft. He's probably the second best cornerback. Before.
Why?
Why?
Because, well, just like what you just said, it's a very defensive heavy draft. A team like just say hypothetically, like teams like Miami, they have a lot of picks and they can build if they keep those picks, they can really build for the future with this draft.
Interesting.
And they like a team like that, they need help everywhere.
Interesting. Cinch has not responded to that one, so we'll come back to it. And I'm going to admit right now, I'm going to fail. I need to run to the bathroom. So I'm going to give you this next one because you're going to have some time to talk about it. And I'm going to take myself off camera.
Okay.
Total cornerbacks. Oh, Cinch says before. He says before. I have him as before too. I'm going to Denver at pick 15. So we're all on the same page there.
Okay.
Total cornerbacks taken in the first round. Total corner. Like corner store. Right, cornerbacks,
That's a good
defensive.
question.
Total cornerbacks in the first round, over or under 4.5.
Over under 4.5. Give me 1 second. Let me just look at the draft list really quick. Hold on, because I don't know everyone's name, even though I do play college fantasy football. Because there's a lot of people that play college football. Um, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say over. Over only because this is a very, like I just mentioned before, this is a very defensive heavy draft. And Cinch agrees with me. So therefore I'm right. So there. So Britt's probably gonna say under. Now the question is, what's the under over of Britt not agreeing with me? Probably 60%? 60%. Yeah, but if you don't follow college football, it seems to come in waves where, hey, he's back.
He's back, but now I'm on the wrong
Uh,
side. What the hell did I just do? There he is. Okay.
there we go.
All right. So I heard everything, but obviously I
Yep.
mute everything.
Right.
I have under,
See? Told you.
and you had the over, and Cinch has the over. I have under. Here's who I have. I have Jeff Okuda going early. Then I have C.J. Henderson, Jeff Gladney, and Christian Fulton. So that's 4 guys. Can you play bathroom noises while he's gone? We'll look into that. It's a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to do that when we're on the podcast because I can just signal to Craig. And then he just goes for 5 minutes, and people just think I'm being quiet for a change. So now my secret's out. Now every time I go to the bathroom, everybody's
No.
like, Britt's in the bathroom.
Or I just hit pause on the recording.
Or we just hit pause in the recording. Either way, it works. So, all right. So we do disagree on that one. I think cornerbacks are very deep in this draft, but I think there's some of them that are going to slip to the second round. Total wide receivers in the first round, because wideouts are deep too. Over under 5.5. Go.
Under. I think it's going to be more in the second round.
Okay.
You'll see receivers from like LSU and Alabama go,
Yeah.
but maybe Clemson. I'm not sure how many people are coming out from Clemson, but I think that's going to be more of a second round thing.
So I have the under 2. I have 5, and the over under is 5.5. Look, there we go. 5. It's 5. Okay. I've got Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb. Those are the 3 that are absolutely going in the first round. No question in my mind those 3 are going in the first round under any format. Then I've got Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor. That's it. That's 5 names. This is a pass-happy draft, folks. There is a ton of defensive rushing, cornerbacks, and wideouts. You thought this was a pass-happy league already? So Cinch agrees with me. He says 5 in the first round. He may not agree on the names, but he agrees on the number. All right, I got one more, and this one's shocking to me.
Okay.
Shocking. Total number of running backs drafted in the first round. Over under 0.5.
Over. 2 is my
2.
number.
Why?
Same thing. There's not a lot of big running backs, or compared to defensive players, there's not a lot of high-ranking running. Well, there's not going to be a lot of teams that need running backs in the first round. There's going to be a couple, so that's why.
Cinch says under. He says 0 running backs in the first round.
Nah.
It's possible.
No.
I am gonna go over because I got 2 names on my list, and they are DeAndre Swift and Jonathan Taylor. Both are exceptional running backs. Either one could go in the first round, and the draft is unpredictable. Would I be shocked if I'm wrong? No, I would not be shocked if I'm wrong. I would not be shocked at all. But nope. I think I'm right. I think I'm right.
I will be shocked if there's head coaches that know their email passwords to get into the draft. So.
Oh, we're not gonna go over that again. It's 2020, folks. You are a professional in the National Football League. Your standard sideline equipment is a Surface tablet. You have to know how to use it. It's right here. Do you want to see it? It's behind the computer I'm using now. This is my desk during the week. No, you ever notice my KC shirt, by the way?
I do.
Oh,
I do.
thank you. Thank
Very
you.
nice.
All right, so one more topic and then final thoughts.
Yeah.
Running backs are overrated. Cinch has somewhat of a point. In the draft, they usually are.
But would Cinch be mad if the Patriots drafted a running back?
Oh, we need him on for that. We can't toss that at him in chat. That's not fair. We need him on to answer a question of that magnitude. So we're gonna move on.
All right.
There it is. Okay. So Brian Schottenheimer says he feels good about both Rashad Penny and Chris Carson coming back.
Remember Chris Carson?
Yeah. Yeah. Chris Carson. Oh, Cinch said yes, he'd be fine with a running back in the first round. He put that in all caps too, for those of you who can't see it. Do you feel confident in bringing both Penny and Carson back? Can Seattle work with a two-headed monster, and does it affect their fantasy value?
They have to, just because they've had so many injury problems. Then they had to rely on Russell Wilson passing and throwing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they do need both of them there.
Carson was fantastic. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'll say they do need a running, unless they draft someone that's starting, a workhorse running back. They need both of them.
Carson was fantastic to start the season.
Yes, I would, Cinch.
Okay, so the question for those of you who are just on the podcast: would Craig be mad if the Bengals drafted defense with the first pick and
if
Craig
they drafted
said yes?
Chase Young, I would not be very thrilled.
Really?
He's an amazing player, but they need a quarterback.
I gotta ponder that possibility. I can't answer that on the air. I gotta ponder that. I don't know. It's kind of Chase Young feels like a better perfect, but without the suspension possibility. So I don't know. All right. Anyway, so Carson was really good the first couple of games of last year, and then just as Penny was starting to warm up is when Carson got hurt, and then of course Penny got hurt, and it all went to crap.
Yes.
If Russell Wilson and both of them can stay healthy all year long, Seattle could be a real powerhouse and a real problem for a lot of folks.
They could easily win their division.
The NFC West, folks, is not a lock. I know the Rams feel like the Rams have it under control. Arizona's getting better.
They are getting better.
They got better with that trade with the Houston Texans. Texans didn't, but they did. And Seattle is very good with a very experienced coach. And now I feel like the guy from Police Academy who says very, very every time. A very, very good team with a very, very good coach. The NFC West has a potential to be a shootout. So I don't know. Can you trust either one in fantasy, and which one would you trust? And when? I know it's early to talk about our rankings, but
I would trust Chris Carson if I had to pick the two.
Over Penny. So let's say 7th round, you're sitting there, and they're both on the board. You would take Carson.
Yes.
I think I would go Penny.
Provided there's no injury report anywhere.
I think in the same situation, I'd go Penny. I just don't.
Either way, you'd have 50-50 of being right.
Yeah. Before we get to final thoughts, Cinch checked in. He's drinking Johnny Walker Black or Blue. He can't remember. If you're drinking that and you don't remember which one you're drinking, because there's a significant difference between black and blue, then you're probably drinking too much of it. So sell down.
Where does Red fall in that category?
Red's the lowest level. I know my Johnny Walker. Johnny Red is 10-year Scotch. Black is 12. Green, then gold, or I think it's gold, then green, then blue. Blue is the top level of their stuff in general retail sales. They'll put out blends that are better than blue on occasion, but blue is like the expensive stuff for them. So, we did a bachelor party for Sean, and someone donated a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue. And as I was selling the raffle tickets, all people were like, "It's Johnny Walker Blue's in this raffle, right? I can win the blue." Yes, you can win the blue. And the worst part was the guy who won the blue doesn't drink. and traded it for I think it was a signed picture of Lou Gehrig or something. I was like, oh my god, those are
Yeah.
both worth like
I think
$200.
it was a random Met. I don't even know who it was.
And he was so excited. He was like, look, I got rid of alcohol and I got this great picture. He's drinking black. Black makes more sense. Black is my Johnny Walker of choice. It's 12-year-old. It's smooth. Our buddy Ishmael Rivera, who's better known as Junior, is a big fan of the black. So on more than one occasion, I have started out an evening with our friend Junior, and he's like, do a shot of black with me, and the rest is fuzzy. So let's move on to final thoughts. Craig, what's your final thought for this week?
Final thought for this week. This was fun to do. We weren't sure how this was going to work.
We both stayed connected.
Yes.
Which did not happen during the trial run, let me tell you.
No, the trial run, things broke.
Yes.
In case anyone was wondering, things just stopped.
Yeah. So, we are extremely happy to be able to do this once in a while. What I would ask is if you're watching this at home and it's after the fact, where you're watching the recording version of this, my final thought would be, let's do this again. Let's try to do this like once a month instead of a normal episode. We'll do this and see how it goes. Bring questions, folks. Those of you who are tuning in to see how it goes and see what we're talking about, bring us a fantasy football question. I get the feeling there was I can't see the exact number. I can see how many people are online at any given time, but I can't see a total number of people watching. I know a lot of you kind of just checked in. We're like, oh, look, it's Britt and Craig. All right. Bring us some questions. We'd like to hear your questions. Christy wants us to do it again. Christy, you don't even watch football.
We'll do it again.
Why? She's just having a good time laughing at us. She really is. She's just having a good time laughing at us. But we appreciate your support. My wife,
Thank you.
A person who hates football as much as she does, is supporting our podcast and always has. Where's our producer, Craig?
She's wrangling the cats.
I can't fault her for that. That's a full-time job. So we will be back on the podcast end next week for episode number 141. Cinch says, are you guys tired of me beating you in fantasy football? Well, seeing as I can talk and Cinch can't, I'll respond to that. Did Cinch win this year?
Yes, no. This year he won.
He won this year? Who won the year before?
I don't think it was Cinch.
I don't think it was Cinch this year. I think Cinch won in 2018. I think 2019 was Adam, was the source. The source won in 2019. Right. 2018 was Cinch, but 2017 might have been. I'm pointing the wrong way. Craig?
Me? There you go.
Right 2016, way. Who was in the championship? Oh, this is Craig. 2015 seems like an awful long time ago, but I know somebody on this podcast was in that championship. So, no, Cinch. You've got a lot more attempts to beat us before we're sick of you beating us.
We'll see you in Sturgis.
We'll see you in Sturgis. My God, I missed that. I missed that so much. That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut. We'll explain that sometime, but not tonight because we're going to sign off. As always, if you're hearing us on the podcast, please leave us a review. That was ancient history. 5 years ago was ancient history?
So I guess all the Patriot wins were ancient history too.
Oh man, we are going to sign off before my phone starts ringing. Leave us a review wherever you listen to us. Player FM, Apple Podcasts. I can't do this while looking at him laugh. Stitcher. Any of the places you listen to us, please leave us a review. We always appreciate the feedback. Reach out to us on Facebook at this location if you're watching us on Facebook Live, the Football Fignuts on Facebook, or on Twitter at FignutsDFS. Until next week, my name is Britt.
I'm Craig.
And we are the Football Fignuts Podcast. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.